Have you ever listened to a great blues intro or blues solo and thought, geez, a lot of those notes that I'm hearing are just not in the blues scale? If so, you're not wrong. Hey everyone, I'm Jack Fossett. Welcome to the channel and welcome to this lesson video, hopefully helping you expand a little bit on blues playing. Now, one of the problems that I generally had when I was starting to play was that I found the blues scale and the pentatonic scale weren't covering some tonal territory that I was hearing in songs that I loved, and particularly the blues scale. I want to focus on that one because it has blues in the title, and yet there are some really important notes that it omits. So, just to be clear is what we're talking about, the blues scale. I'm playing in a key of A today. So you start on the 5th fret, and the blues scale is going to go like this. Right, that's your blues scale. Do you notice, though, that I just ended with a dominant 7 chord, right? That's this one. And that's what most blues is based on. It's based on a dominant 7 kind of. Obviously, there's minor blues, but a lot of blues is based on a dominant 7 or even just a major chord. And the blues scale is based off of a minor pentatonic. So already you're like, oh, okay, there's a little bit off there. So what I want to do is share with you some of these really significant notes in blues that should be in this scale and that you can actually do even in this box. We're going to play a little bit more and get a little bit further around the neck, but you can actually start by just modifying your basic blues scale box. So first of all, I want to talk about the notes that we're going to add. We're going to talk about them as far as intervals. So the A being your 1, the D being your 4, the E being your 5. The most important notes to add if you're talking about blues are the major 3rd and the major 6. So what we're going to be talking about there, the major 3rd is going to be C sharp instead of C. The major 6 is going to be F sharp. Now, that gets a little bit tricky with the major 3rd, but I'll show you some things that you can do. First of all, this is your minor 3rd, right? And that's a pretty typical little blues thing. Here's your major 3rd. Now you might say that's a little too happy for blues. The truth is, a lot of blues actually exists kind of in the middle of those. It exists with this putting a little bit of a bend. And remember, it's not just these notes like this. There's infinite pitch. So the first way to kind of get into this is to start by bending that minor 3rd and getting it a little closer to the major 3rd. Right, so already that sounds kind of cool. It sounds pretty expressive, actually. Then you can do what I call the Chuck Berry thing, which is to hammer on to the major 3rd. Now we're really starting to get into some territory, right? This is starting to sound like... That's starting to sound like something. That's starting to be a lot more interesting, too, than this. It's giving it more musical flavor. It's giving it a little bit more expressiveness, and it's just making it sound generally more interesting. Now, the 6th, the best place to throw in the major 6th in your basic kind of pentatonic shape, or your blues box shape, is up here on the B string, and it's going to be on the 7th fret. So you can actually just add this note in, because you can still play the B string on the 8th fret here. That's your dominant 7, that's your G. And then just play the F sharp behind it, so it would go... There it is again. Now, the major 6th, I would actually say, is almost more important than the major 3rd, and I'll tell you why. It makes up so many blues arpeggios, particularly blues intros, right? Your classic blues intro is going to be this. That is a major 6 arpeggio, essentially. You've got your 1, you've got a 2 sliding up to a major 3, you've got your 5, You've got your 6, and then you go back up to your 1. If you do something like this, that's your major 6. It's a 5-6-1. Well, it's 5-6-1-1. If you play up in the BB box, here's your 6 right here. Bend up to a major third. Right? There's your major 6 and your major third. Two very important notes that are just not in that blues scale. What really gets fun and expressive then is when you kind of start to just blend them, right? And start to use your creativity and hearing where the changes are and adding in some of these major notes, but then also just playing the blues scale at times, you know, on certain chord changes. So that was just kind of blending them a little bit, right? I was throwing in the major 6, I was doing the hammer on onto the major third, but then I also added in this note, the, right? And that's a flat 5, or an augmented 4, it's a flat 5. That major 6 is actually so significant. That is the standard part of the classic blues-like train rhythm, right? This thing. What you're doing there is you're jamming on the open A. I mean, I'm palm muting it, but it's the, right? That's your A. And then on top of it, you're going 5 to 6 to 5 to 6. And then you get points for doing a chromatic walk-up like this. Now you can also do these really cool double stops with it where, you know, for instance, I might bar the G and the B string on the 7th fret and then bar the G and the B string on the 5th fret, but then do that hammer on just on the G string, right? Going from the C to the C sharp and then resolve it on the root. So it would sound like this. Right? That's a pretty classic blues kind of tone. Another cool thing, you can even start that up top, you know, so bar the B and the E string on the 5th fret, and then hammer on onto your major 6. It's going to be right here. So going to hammer on just on the B string on the 7th fret, and then continue that. Really important notes that are just not in the blues scale. Now the last thing that you can do if you really want to expand is to move the pentatonic box. If you're in a key of A, you can do a lot of this from the major pentatonic position. So for that, we're just going to do the relative minor. If you're not into music theory and you don't know what that means, basically every major key has a minor key that is made up of exactly the same notes, right? So most people know that C major and A minor are exactly the same notes. Be quiet. Right, it's the white keys on a piano. So for A, it's going to be F sharp. So you move the whole thing back here. So instead of starting your scale on the 5th fret, you're going to start it back here on the 2nd fret. You're still in a key of A, right? It just changes where the root note is. But here you can do some cool things, you know, like, right, that's still really bluesy. It's still pretty soulful and sounds really cool. I'm doing it all from really a pentatonic shape. I'm just doing it down here and I'm utilizing those notes that way. It's got the major 6th and the major 3rd built into it. So folks, that's what I have for this lesson, sharing with you, especially importantly, the major 3rd and the major 6th and how those notes can really improve your blues playing, hopefully giving you some ideas as how you can blend that with a traditional pentatonic or blues scale just to make your notes fit the song better, get a little bit more expressive, and really deep dive into the guitar a bit more. Now, if you want to know about the gear I'm playing, this is an old Fender American vintage Stratocaster. I'm plugging straight into a Supro Amulet 12. If you're interested in any of that gear, I'm going to put a link to a gear recommendations website. Through that gear recommendations website, you'll see all kinds of links. They are affiliate links. If you see something that you like and you shop through those links, it supports my channel at no additional cost to you. You're also going to find my PayPal and my Venmo down in the description. If you send me a tip of $7 or more, I'll give you access to a website of all of my music, including including jam tracks. So please feel free to support the channel. Let me know if you enjoyed this video, what other type of lessons you might want to see. I'm Jack Fossett. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.